Have you ever spent time with a little girl? Everything seems to be getting along swimmingly, and then all of a sudden you're at absolute loggerheads with her. And she's shouting, "No, no, me do it, I do it all by myself." Or maybe that's just me. I have had very many of just those occurrences happen right here in this very kitchen. You see, I'm the mother of a 2-year-old, Rosie, and oh my word, is she the most strong-willed little human being you have ever seen. And it doesn't matter if she wants to do it by herself, even if the result is her half naked trying to get dressed with both legs in one pants hole. You know, she is incredible, but she's so fiercely committed, and if she speaks her mind clearly. Now, the reason I bring this up is because it's really interesting for us as parents to have to A, handle that, but B, I think, what can we learn from it, you know? I think there's something really interesting when we see little girls asserting their will like that, you know, in that really stubborn way, because it can stand out, can't it? You know, you've been walking around supermarkets and seen children like this, and part of us thinks, oh, geez, and the other part of me thinks, wow, look at that. The reason is, for many of us as adults, it's rare to see a fully grown woman being quite so insistent on what she wants and what she cares about, right? Our culture isn't very supportive of that. Do you remember during Hillary Clinton's presidential race when she was described as being shrill and unlikable by her opponents? Or have you might remember Serena Williams having been penalized for her outbursts on court, which loads of people concur is really no different to the kind of behavior that male players wouldn't ever be pulled up for. I think that children show us just how much our behavior is shaped by our culture that we're brought up, in. And so we see these little girls being stubborn and being angry. I think there's a lot we can learn from them, right? I'm not suggesting that we all resort to, toddler tantrums or anything. That's probably not going to go down well at the next board meeting. I'm not sure what you think about that. But I do a lot of work with women here at One of Many, and I do think that we need to begin to pay attention to all of the ways that we make ourselves smaller and acceptable, and we tone ourselves down to fit in culturally, where we put other people's needs before our own. Because I watch Rosie, and she doesn't have any of those filterings. It's her needs, her wants. Yes, we have to learn to work in community, but I think there's a lot for us to learn. As women, how are we keeping ourselves within these invisible limits so as not to be labeled shrill or emotional? And even more interestingly, what emotional toll is that taking on us? How much anger and resentment and, frustration are we battening down? At One of Many, we talk about women's power types, and these are archetypes that we can use in our leadership. We have disempowering archetypes. Perhaps one of the most disempowering is the bitch. And I think when we put a lid on our anger and our resentment and our frustration for too long, sometimes that bubbles over and we go into bitch mode. That is not fruitful. That is where the shrill and all of that kind of stuff can come from. Now, yes, there's a cultural thing there, and we shouldn't be getting those labels no matter what behavior we express. But there is, I think that we go into that state from putting a lid too much on our emotions. When I watch Rosie, there is no lid. She expresses it when she feels it, and then she moves through, and 20 seconds later, she's fine. Even if she doesn't always get what she wants, if she lets the emotion out, she can be fine. There's something for us to learn here. One of the women's power types that we talk about here, One of Many, is the Queen. Now, the Queen is that part of us which is serene and graceful, but she is decisive and she is strong and she knows what she wants. And she's very happy to say no when she wants to say no. She doesn't need to be shrill, she doesn't need to be emotional, but she can absolutely put her foot down and make her point heard. I see in Rosie and her way of expressing her emotions, her way of trying to put her stamp on the world, the little queen in waiting, ready to be developed. Yes, we need to learn about about how appropriate it is to splash our emotions everywhere. It's not that. But we do need to feel those emotions and then channel them in such a way as that we can have the kind of impact we want to have without turning ourselves into pretzels because of societal conditioning. So the next time you're with a headstrong little girl and you see her getting stubborn, digging her heels in, maybe she seems to have stopped listening, she's in her own little world, give her some space. See what it's like to be around a woman-to-be that cares so little what other people think of her. There might be some wisdom that we can draw from there, I reckon. If this strikes a chord with you, I'd love to hear what you think in the comments section below. And if this has been an interesting video, please feel free to forward it to a friend or someone who might have a headstrong little girl in her midst. We'd love to know what you think. Like it if you'd like to hear more from us, and let us know in the comments what you think about what we're chatting about here today.